Hi, I'm Sam and this is Kyle, and we are at Rhino HQ with the GoPro HERO4 Silver and the HERO4 Black.
Some of the biggest things we've heard from GoPro is that the HERO4 Silver actually has an integrated touchscreen into it. It's a first for GoPro, but we're excited to see how that affects battery life, usability. Now the new flagship model is the Black, and the Black sports 4K at 30 frames per second. Along with just better frame rates overall.
Yeah, it's supposed to be 2 times as powerful as the HERO3 Plus Black Edition.
Yeah, really excited to test that. Some of the tests we want to put these through the ringer and compare the two to each other are general sharpness and image quality. We're going to be looking at
low light performance.
Low light. Going to go out to a city tonight. Test some different things there.
The night lapse features.
Night lapse features will be really cool. Audio quality. The previous generation GoPro did say was increased. Now it says it has more dynamic range in audio. So we'll kind of see what that means, what it looks like in comparison.
Finally, the batteries.
Batteries are always huge for filmmakers. So we'll test them between each other and against previous generations of GoPro cameras.
All right, let's start unboxing.
Cool. Alright, so we just unboxed the HERO4 Silver and Black.
Yep.
It comes with all the same accessories, same packaging. The biggest difference between the two right off the bat is the touchscreen on the back.
Yeah, it's really nice. For anyone who's not familiar with GoPros, it's going to be a breath of fresh air because just the usability and the user interface is much better. A lot similar in one sense to smartphones that everyone's using these days, and so it's really nice for people that are used to GoPro. You can still control from the front. This is just a nice feature, and then of course the big aspect of just framing your shot beforehand. So it's a huge improvement.
It's huge.
You can turn the screen on and off with a little button right there. It's kind of nice. Save battery.
Really cool. Now a big UI improvement that I noticed in the settings menu of the GoPro 4 Black is that it scrolls vertically now. Before it would scroll horizontally, and you'd pass when you're trying to get to the exit button.
Horrible.
You'd pass it like 5 times before you actually can exit out. So real easily, it just scrolls vertically, and you can see multiple settings on the screen at one time.
Yep. And one final thing we noticed when we were putting the batteries in is that the placement to put the batteries in is a little different. It's on the bottom, and it's kind of confusing, I guess, but you press this square in, you pull it out, and it pops open, which that's great. But then putting the battery in, you want to put it in vertically, and that little knob goes onto the outside, and it clicks in, and then pushes back together. Yours was a little stiffer. This was easy to do, but overall, really impressed. Sizes are extremely similar, if not identical.
So for our first test, we're comparing both the image quality and sharpness. We have our handy GoPro comparison mount that we 3D printed for our last video, and we're going to show you guys some different side-by-side comparisons at different frame rates and resolutions. Notably, everything is shot in ProTune, which gives you a flat, unsharp picture profile. It just makes it really good for editing and post-production. Allows you to kind of seamlessly cut your GoPro footage into anything you're shooting with. Okay, so after looking at the footage, comparing 1080p side by side with the HERO4 Silver and Black, there really wasn't that big of a difference.
No.
There was a pretty big jumping up to the HERO3 Plus Black that we reviewed last time. Very noticeable. You could say that it's slightly noticeable, but really at full res on a monitor, it's kind of hard to tell.
Yeah, I would say that's true. 4K though, kicks butt.
It's awesome.
4K even downscaled at 1080p at 24 frames per second when put next to the HERO4 Silver is way better. You can tell, and it's just good. If you've ever edited in 4K, it'll bring its own set of challenges, take up its own amount of space. It eats up the micro SD cards very quickly, but we'll be able to use the footage, intercut it with our GH4 stuff really easily.
Yep. We looked at some of the slow motion features, which the HERO4 Silver shoots the same specs essentially as the HERO3 Plus Black. So we tested it at 120 frames per second at 720p. The HERO4 Black actually shoots at 1080p at 120 frames per second. So just higher res, a little bit clearer. You can see from the guy doing the 360, looks a little bit better. We were kind of disappointed that the GoPro HERO4 Black didn't have 240 frames per second at 720 though. We were searching on it on the menu and ended up looking on forums and stuff, and figured out that it's just not there. So we're gonna use our iPhone for that, unfortunately.
Tonight we're going to be doing a low light test in Tacoma, Washington. We're going to be taking both of them out and looking at how they do with just nighttime video. We're going to be testing out as well the night lapse, which GoPro calls it. That's available on both really as a feature. So it's time lapse at night, obviously, and just kind of see how they compare to one another, because we know that the sensors are quite different.
Let's check it out.
Okay, so after reviewing the low light footage at the bar and in the city, the results are a little bit inconclusive.
It's definitely an improvement though over the 3 Plus.
Yes, huge improvement over the previous generation. We've been using that for a year, and low light performance on that was good but subpar. They've really stepped up their game with this. And then we did some night lapse stuff.
Did some night lapse. Now, I shoot a little bit of time lapse, mainly for our Kickstarter videos, and I was excited to see that you can do a forced exposure with the GoPro 4 cameras. It was a little tricky to get, mainly because the minimum exposure, and I'm pretty sure this is really the minimum, is 10 seconds. And we did that off a bridge in Tacoma where there's a lot of city light, but it's still at nighttime, and it was way overexposed. So that was kind of sad. I mean, if we could just have another option for a 5-second exposure, we would have probably nailed a pretty good shot. So we ended up going down by the water and did a 30-second exposure with the camera side by side. And as you saw, there's pretty much no difference at all. So based on that, I mean, it's really just one sample shot, but the cameras inside, the photo taking ability of the cameras is probably identical. Same specs, same burst rate, same megapixel.
You're just gonna have to be careful about overexposure. If 10 seconds really is the lowest we could find, you're not gonna be able to shoot time lapse.
Hopefully a firmware update will take care of that.
It should.
One other slight bug thing is that you don't have a ton of options in the night lapse setting. Is when you have a 30-second exposure, the minimum interval was 60 seconds. So literally I'm waiting 30 seconds per shot, just wasting it. So hopefully some firmware updates will clear up some of this stuff and make it more usable.
In our next set of tests, we're actually taking both of the HERO4s and the HERO3 Plus Black Edition to look at how the battery holds up. All the cameras are very different. We've got a couple of interesting things here. With the Black, the HERO4 Black, we've got 4K, which is twice the data rates. How's that going to hold up over time? With the HERO4 Silver, you've got an LCD screen. How much battery does that take? So we're going to be doing tests with these two against the HERO3 Plus Black Edition at 1080p all the same, to see who has the best, who wins in that category.
Yep.
So as you saw in the battery test, the GoPro HERO4 Black is the first to die. We assume that is because of the new sensor in there. All of the cameras are shooting at 1080p at 24 frames per second. We've looked at other battery tests online and it's the same story there. So ours was not a unique case. The HERO4 has about 25% worse battery life from our calculations compared to, roughly compared to the HERO4 Silver and the Hero 3 Plus.
Our next test is about the audio quality of the new GoPros. Now, even on the packaging, they say that the audio quality is way better, and they're saying that it has more dynamic range, which I presume to mean that it'll have better depth in the lows and the highs. So we're gonna test talking and musical instruments. We're not using the housing, we'll just have the frames like they are now. Make sure all the audio ports are uncovered. Check it out.
One challenge of many small microphones, like laptop microphones, is that they also don't handle complex sounds very well. Those sounds could be called polyphonic sounds, more than one tone at the same time. The human voice is monophonic. It only has one tone at a time. Unless you're a Mongolian throat singer, polyphonic sounds are reserved for instruments like the guitar, where you have 6 strings, 6 tones, all at the same time. So let's see how it handles that, and if they all sound clear. Here's a sample of the guitar played quietly, and we'll see how it comes out in terms of hearing quiet sounds in a quiet room.
So after listening to the audio from the new GoPros, the black and the silver are pretty much identical. They're definitely an improvement though, especially in the real quiet. If you heard the guitar, it sounded really crisp, really clear. If you talk about signal to noise ratio, it's kind of the hissing compared to the volume of what it's picking up. There really wasn't a ton of hissing, so the preamp of this thing is decent, you know. Taking it to the bar, it worked really well.
Right next, I mean, when we were really close filming the karaoke, it was loud. You could barely hear yourself or talk to one another, and it discerned the noise. It picked it up really well. I don't know what the decibel levels were, reading was in there, but it was significant. Loud. It was loud.
Yeah, and it didn't distort the audio or basically boost it. So it was good.
So the dynamic range that we could find is, like they said, it's good. But again, microphones probably sound, the software in there, it's probably identical. I don't think that there's any difference between the silver and the black in terms of audio.
Now, if you are going to try to get good quality audio, definitely don't use the case. It just garbles it. Really, you want to leave the microphones, which there's 2 on this, exposed.
In the frame.
Yeah.
Or exposed or with the frame.
Correct.
Which it's built for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So after spending a day with the new HERO4 Black and Silver editions, 4K is definitely a big plus. It was a similar thing of me switching from a 60D to the GH4. Definitely increase in actual storage, but the footage looks a lot better and it cuts a lot better with our DSLR and FS700, all those kinds of footage. So that was definitely great. Night lapse mode was pretty cool. Hoping for some firmware updates there to make it even more usable. But that's going to be really fun to take this in my pocket when I'm up on Rainier and backpacking. it's definitely easy, definitely fun.
Yeah. User functionality on both is improved, like we covered kind of in the beginning.
Yeah.
It's nice to have, really nice to have the LCD back, but even just the basic menu on the front is better. Low light is better than the Hero 3 Plus, which is nice. So overall, the Hero 4s are good cameras.
They're good. If you're trying to decide between the silver and the black edition, honestly, if you don't use 4K or if you don't have the computer to handle it, it's probably not the camera for you. Yeah, you can downsample it down to 1080p and it still looks better, but you still have to be able to handle all the gigabytes that you're going to be burning through. And really, the touchscreen was pretty nice.
And realistically, if you're going to spend $100 extra on the GoPro HERO4 Black, and then you do want the LCD, you have to spend another $80 or whatever it is online to get the LCD. So if you're looking at trying to get what is in the silver, you're looking at almost $200 more. That's just $100. So that's another thing to consider.
All right. And in the coming weeks, we're going to come out with some more videos that will kind of help you make sense of the 5 cameras GoPro has now to offer, including just the Hero camera, the low price one.
It's nice.
Test some of the features on that, and also a more in-depth review on which one should you choose? Should you upgrade from the 3 Plus?
Yes.
It's always the big question. So, thank you guys for watching. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
See you.